Hi, this is Karl from Kidology.org, and welcome to Miraculous, a super fun Easter series from IT Bible Curriculum that is all about the miracles of Jesus, culminating with His resurrection. Now, if you're watching this in another context, you can just go to Kidology.org/miraculous to learn all about it. In this introductory video, I just want to address a very important and legitimate question that some people might come to you with, where they ask like, hey, I heard you're doing magic. Can a Christian do magic? Should you be doing magic at church? Doesn't the Bible forbid magic? If you get that question, I don't get it a lot, but you might get it from a parent or a teacher or maybe even your lead pastor. And if you get that question, doesn't the Bible forbid magic? I want you to answer that question with an absolutely yes. The Bible does forbid magic. But then let them know that the magic that you are doing is not the magic that the Bible forbids. And ask if you could have a minute to explain, because it is very important, and thank them for their concern. The Bible forbids magic, but what the Bible is clearly forbidding is supernatural magics. Christians should have nothing to do with supernatural magic. But when we use the word magic in the context of entertainment and magic tricks, we are not talking about the supernatural. We are talking about basically object lessons with a surprise ending, or object lessons that do something where the audience, usually kids, don't know how we did it. So why are they called magic tricks? Well, it dates back to when magic became entertainment. And some of these early performers, they didn't want people to know how they were doing it. In fact, the point of the entertainment was the audience not knowing how these feats were done. And so a lot of these early entertainers, they wanted the audience to believe that they had supernatural powers. That was the point of their entertainment. And so they called themselves magicians. And of course, they dressed like wizards, and that was the whole aura of their entertainment. Now, obviously, they were not Christians, or they would not have done that, because they would have known the dangers of real magic or having anything to do with spirits or demons. And so Christians probably avoided that, because they're like, hey man, I want nothing to do with darkness. And so that would have been a bad thing. But they were not using demonic powers, right? Now, I'm not justifying that era where there was a lot of ignorance about spiritual things, perhaps, but I also want you to know that not all entertainers liked that. In fact, you've probably heard of the great Houdini, the great escape artist. He actually did not like that. In fact, he spent a lot of his career debunking the spiritualists of the day, who actually were con artists. They actually would hold these seances, and people would come in and they would give money, and these spiritualists would take their money and do magic tricks to make things float and bells to ring, and they had other gimmicks that they would do to defraud people out of their money, to tell them that they had messages from their dead relatives. Well, Houdini spent much of his career debunking these spiritualists, showing them to be frauds, and he made a lot of enemies doing that, because he was actually attacking not shows but livelihoods. In fact, you may not know this, but Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the great author of the Sherlock Holmes and many other things, was a good friend of Houdini, and their friendship ended over this topic, because Conan Doyle's wife was into spiritualism, and they got into conflict. There's letters that went back and forth over this issue of Houdini trying to convince his good friend that the spiritualism was fake. In fact, Houdini offered a great reward that if this is true, I'm going to appear at this time and place on the anniversary of my death, every year after I pass away. And there's still people that go to that place, and he has not showed up. And so while he was not a believer, he set out even in his death to prove that he did not believe in that spiritualism. So there is a history of a misuse of magic and spiritualism, but how does that relate to today? Well, when we do magic tricks, we are trying to just fool the eyes. It's entertainment. Now, even though our use of the word magic is pretty innocent, I still avoid the word. All right, I will say, hey, I want to show you a card trick or a rope trick. I don't think we have to avoid the word. It's not a bad word, but it's just something that I try to avoid as much as I can. You'll see even in the curriculum, I will use illusion and tricks. But the best thing you can do to assure someone who has this concern is to say, why don't you come watch me do a trick for the kids? Because the kids never think I have any supernatural power. They're yelling out, it's up your sleeve, it's behind your back. In fact, often a magician will ask the kids, how do you think I did that? No kid in my entire career of doing this for decades has ever said, because you, oh Karl, are great and powerful and have great powers. No, they've never said that. They never think I have any magical powers. Now, I've had adults think that. I had one pastor one time, a very godly man, who saw me do some close-up magic, and being as smart as he is, he's still alive, he was bothered and he was worried that maybe I was using some demonic powers, and so he confronted me in love, and I said, I'll tell you what I'll do. You pick the one trick that bothered you the most and I'll show you how I did it. So he thought long and hard. He picked a trick. I showed him how that one was done. And when he saw the gimmick and he saw how simple it was and how easily he had been deceived, he laughed. He was a little embarrassed. And then he wanted to know another one. I said, nope, I let you pick just one trick. And then his heart was put at ease that his children's pastor was not summoning the powers of the enemy. So affirm them, compliment them, explain the difference between supernatural magic, which is clearly forbidden, and magic tricks. Basically an object lesson with a surprise ending. Invite them to come see what you're doing and let them know the difference, and let them know the whole point of this whole miraculous series is that we have to use a trick. And we're going to teach the kids some tricks, and we're going to show some tricks. But our point is that we have to use tricks. We have to have something up our sleeve, or something that's double-sided, or something that's hidden under the table, because we can't do it. It's impossible. But what Jesus did were actual miracles. That's the whole point of the Miracle Busters video series that's part of this curriculum, that Mike and Ike are trying to recreate these miracles, and they fail every time, sometimes with painful consequences, because only Jesus can actually do these miracles. And that's why he's worthy of our worship, and that's why he's worthy of giving our lives to him. And the ultimate miracle that Jesus did was to die on the cross and come back to life. And that's how we know he can do the other ultimate miracle of taking someone that's broken and sinful and not deserving of anything, and he can transform us. The old is gone and the new has come. You know, twice Jesus said it, that with man this is impossible, but with God all things are possible. And that's why I'm excited about this series. Kids love magic tricks. They love learning magic tricks, but I want them to take that fascination and that interest and to turn it into marveling at Jesus all the more, that he truly is miraculous. And I hope you'll enjoy teaching it as much as I will, and as much as I have enjoyed putting this together for you.